Welcome to the Aquatics Life, the aquatic spotlight of the daily Parks and Rec show. From swimming and water safety to aquatic fitness and recreation, we explore the people, programs, and ideas making waves in communities everywhere. Hosted by Wesley King, every Friday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, this is the Aquatics Life, where recreation meets the water. In this episode, we dive into water safety, lifeguard training, leadership, and the experiences shaping today's aquatics professionals.
Hello, everybody. Here we are on our Aquatics Life, or as Craig likes to call it, all things aquatics. But guess what? We're going to talk all things aquatics with our special guest, Tux Taka, a veteran of aquatics with, I'm going to say, over 30 years in the industry, WSI and LGI. Welcome to the show, Tux. Happy to have you, Mr. T. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, Wes?
Good. And again, very excited to have you here. Tux, just a little bit about him. From a volunteer to a full-time teacher to a co-owner of the Safety First CPR safety training to a family man and to one of the now leaders of all things aquatics lifeguard competition. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you hit everything, all the points.
Okay, so take the audience back. Tell us real quick. We'll go to a commercial in just a minute, but give the audience a quick introduction about who you are, what you're about, and a little bit about your business and your history in aquatics, and then we'll get to our commercials and celebrate our great vendors and come back and really get into it.
Right. Well, we'll start right now with currently where we're at. So we are celebrating our 15th year here in the Northeast Florida area / Jacksonville with Safety First CPR and safety training. So what we do with services we provide are CPR and AED training, first aid, childhood babysitting safety, swim lessons, lifeguard certification courses, as well as lifeguard and service training and lifeguard audits. So basically what we want to do is be well-rounded, be able to be affordable, and the best thing about it is we don't have a storefront. We go to you. So that makes us mobile and more accessible. And that's what we wanted to do here in the Jacksonville / Northeast region. And so 15 years of doing that. The other previous places that I've been, one of the most prestigious places I've been was at the Walt Disney World Company. I worked there for 9 years. I worked at all 13 resorts and all 3 water parks. And so that's where I got the upper echelon of training. And I became the best because they poured into me, and I was able to get that support. And that's where my expertise has come now, full circle, 30 years later.
Oh, this is so wonderful. And again, this is why we love having Tux here. We're going to get into, we're going to have our commercials with our outdoor link and National Youth Academy of Sports in just a second. But I want to recognize 2 things real quick for our audience. One, we're in Jacksonville, Florida. Florida is no joke, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to water safety, drowning prevention, all the things Tux and your company does. Number 2, and we're going to talk about this when we come back, the professionalism of training. And I'm excited for the audience to hear how, because of how well you were trained, you now take so much pride in how you train others. And we all have classes, we all have certifications, but I just want our audience to really understand those 2 components. Number 1, the combination of Florida and the insistence on high-level training. And I think it's just a great road that you guys have carved out. So kudos to you. And again, to our audience, we'll have our great showrunner, Craig, who we pulled out of retirement for the night, for the day to pull our commercials. Shout out to Dave Ramirez and shout out to Aaron Locks for their wonderful companies. And let's see and learn more about them.
In today's parks and recreation industry, communication, safety, and efficiency go hand in hand. That's where Outdoor Link comes in, delivering smart technology that empowers city departments and community planners to do more, smarter. Outdoor Link's platform connects and automates everything that keeps your parks running smoothly, from lighting and locks to signage, water features, Wi-Fi, and digital advertising. Control and schedule park lights for safety and energy savings. Remotely manage facility access. Coordinate fountains and splash pads. Provide public connectivity. All from one simple, unified platform, giving you real-time control, data, and cost efficiency. For parks and recreation agencies, that means safer spaces, smarter resource use, faster responses, and stronger community engagement. And behind every great park story is great infrastructure. That's why Outdoor Link proudly supports DPRS Media Company, helping the Daily Parks and Rec Show amplify the voices of professionals shaping our communities every day. Outdoor Link, smart, connected solutions for parks, recreation, and beyond.
It's not just water. It's responsibility. It's leadership. It's not just drowning prevention or water safety. It's life. And every day, aquatics professionals make decisions that save lives. Because aquatics is more than swim lessons. It's community. It's creativity. It's impact. For over 30 years, aquatics hasn't just been my profession, it's been my life. I've seen the challenges, the pressure, the grind, but I've also seen the power of great leadership and what happens when communities come together. This is where education meets entertainment, where real conversations happen, where aquatics professionals come together to learn, lead, and grow. Because aquatics should bring people together. This is Aquatics Life, streaming on DPRS Media Network.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. And again, welcome our guest, Mr. T. So you guys know he is okay with us calling him Mr. T as a teacher, but also easy to fund. So between Tux and Mr. T, we're okay there. But 15 years running your own company, phenomenal. Yeah. But you didn't start running your own company. Talk to the audience, if you would, about how you got started, why aquatics, and why it meant so much early on in your life.
You know, in the commercial, it showed that you've been in aquatics for 30 years. And so I love to swim. I love the water. I just remember growing up as a kid in Southwest Florida, down in Port Charlotte, always going to, either fishing or whatever. And then, sometimes you think, I want to do this job. And then it doesn't end up what that is. And it turns a different corner. And then, boom, there it is. You found it. So in a nutshell, it was actually introduced to me by one of my friends from high school. He said, hey, I know you're looking for a job. Why don't you try being a lifeguard like I am? I was like, okay, let's do it. So next, I'm taking the class. I'm loving every aspect of this. And once I jumped in the proverbial pool, I got hooked. I smelled the chlorine. I was like, okay, I'm in. I'm in all the way. I just didn't know at the time, back in 1989, that this was going to be where I am today speaking to you. And there was a lot of things happening between that time to now to lead me to literally my passion for being able to, pour into others like others have poured into me. Because I think one of the things that we get a little selfish sometimes, like, I did it all by myself. I'm like, no, you didn't. And I'm going to shout out two people, two recent people who have, helped me along my way become a really well-rounded professional. The first person was Tom Wirtz. Tom Wirtz was the head instructor at the time. I took his class, and this guy is a Marine. He was tough.
By the book.
Yeah. and as a Marine, he still had this. He was kind of cheeky, so sometimes you didn't know when he was going to pull out the humor, and then you're like, you don't know whether to laugh or be afraid of him. But in the end, Tom was a great mentor. Another mentor of mine currently that I have is Kimberly Lytle. She's also been a mentor to me, and both of them have taught me what it is to be a professional and really know your stuff and be confident in being able to portray that and be able to pass that on to others, because that essentially is how you become a professional, is being able to speak over and over and over about your passion for aquatics, no matter what realm that is, whether you're CPO or swim lessons or CPR or lifeguarding, or customer service, and all these things, weave each other together, and they're all integrated within, aquatics itself. So yeah.
Oh, I love that. Not only do I love that you can name the people that mentored you, you can name how it happened. I think, and I'm faulty this too, is sometimes I remember the lesson, but I forgot the person, or vice versa. And so I love the ability, and I think that, and again, it's my show, so send me your letters, please, Mom and my 2 other audience members. But I think sometimes it's social media, as the lack of personal engagement, as the lack of writing thank you notes. I mean, when I was younger, everybody got a note, everybody got something, and it's just not taught as much. So, and we look at NBA teams, right? There's a fight to have the 13th player on the NBA bench to be a senior veteran, to tell you how to tie your tie, and right? That's what you're describing, is not only people that took the time with you, but also made sure you understood what they were teaching you. Carry that forward. Help the audience understand how that made training so important to you. Talk about some of those experiences, if you wouldn't mind, maybe even from Disney, about that really high level, impressionable training and education you went through that now leads you to where you are.
Gosh, when I first applied to Disney, I was like, oh, they're not going to take me. I'm like, you don't think you're worthy. And then once I got hired, I worked, but the first place that I worked at was Disney's Yacht and Beach Club. And wow, if you've ever been to that place, it's a water park within the resort. It's one of the first water park resorts out there. And once I started becoming a lifeguard there and seeing how training was and how hard our managers would push us during in-service training, I didn't know what in-service training was really about. The first time I did this was I was at a Parks and Rec, Charlotte County Parks and Rec, and we did these in-services and we had fun. And but when I got to Disney,
you counted your numbers, and sorry, keep going. Yeah. But
wow, they really pushed us, and it made you want to be better, not just because from a selfish standpoint, but you don't want to let other people down, because we're all going through the same thing. So you basically are helping each other out, encouraging each other. And I think that's the biggest thing within aquatics. Aquatics, it's a small niche. And once we talk to someone who's involved in aquatics, just like all things aquatics, the conference, this synergy that happens is amazing. So kind of going back to, how I've been molded, those types of things of trying to encouraging you, try to be your best in doing those things. I ended up from being a lifeguard to becoming a lifeguard recreation coordinator, which is over the lifeguards, but not quite a manager. So it's kind of managing them as my managers managing me and the lifeguards. Next, somebody's tapping me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, I think you would be good for a lifeguard competition." Okay, let's go for it. So the first year we were middle of the road. The next year we took it all. Imagine Disney lifeguards, resorts and water parks competing against each other. And the big dogs were water parks and we were resorts. And so there was this, let's just say rivalry.
Yeah.
And then once
collar pop.
Yeah. And then once the rivalry happened where we won as resorts, it's like, well, you're not here and we're not here. We work at different places. We're equals. And so now that's how we got the respect through resorts. And now it's not rivalry anymore. It's healthy competition. And that competition helped drive me and help drive others to become the best. And after winning that competition, the following year, when Ellis and Associates hosted their regional and international competitions, our teams, I was on one team, and there was two teams basically. We won both first and second place in an international lifeguard competition. And to this day, it still blows my mind. But then I look back at the training and the coaches that we had from the Disney management, and them pushing us every day. And you don't know what's coming. You don't know the potential until someone sees it in you, and then you act on it. And I fell in love with lifeguard competitions, and it made me the best version of myself because someone saw that in me. And so I hope to see the same thing in others that I've been able to encourage, so they can be the best version themselves, especially in aquatics.
Oh, the definition of potential is an untapped resource. I say in every presentation. And again, for those of you that 80% of the country that's inland and Midwest and not New York and not LA and not Texas and Florida, lifeguard games can still happen. Lifeguard competition can still happen. I did one in Rockford, Illinois at 2 a.m. in the late 90s when Ellis won. Again, not statewide, but again, and there were 13 or 18 different properties. So now that only happens, though, if you talk like Tux talk and if you understand those principles of excellence and training, because you're not going to want to go to a lifeguard competition if your team's not ready.
Oh, yeah.
It only takes one time to go, oh, we did not prepare properly. And you stand, but that's the same thing in real life. That's
right.
The same in real life emergencies. It's the same thing when a child gets lost. And I also love, and we'll move on here in a second, but when you're talking about competitions from resort to water park, I think of swim team to lifeguards, swim instructors to head guards, right? It doesn't have to be resort to water park. Every property has the opportunity for conflict, but you guys created friendly competition. You put it together and said, look, we might have won, but now you see us differently. And I think that's a lesson that every property can take away from, because we're all competing for the same water and we all want the same attention. And so I think this was a great reminders and principles that you've allowed to push you forward.
Yep, absolutely.
Spot on. Talk more about these lifeguard competitions, though, because we met a year ago. We'll get to that. But talk about that passion, because as soon as I met you, I saw that twinkle in your eye. And tell the audience about some of that experience and some of those environments and even games you've done.
Yeah. So after those competitions, I participated in them. Next thing you know, they're tapping me on the shoulder again. And, hey, would you like to help us run it? Plan it. And next, I go from participant to coach to now help running it within the Disney properties. And it was a great way of saying, hey, you've made your way and we believe in you. And now it's almost like now you're one of us. And that feels really good, because it's validation of all the hard work you put in. And it doesn't just have to be lifeguard competitions.
Right.
When you're a lifeguard, you become, and I'm sticking to lifeguard because what the topic is. So lifeguard to someone leading lifeguards to assistant manager to a manager, and so working up the ladder, like I've worked up the ladder for 30 years. Those lifeguard competitions, it changed me. I didn't know how competitive I was. Now I want to thank my dad. Dad, if you're listening, which, I'm going to send it to you. But anyway, by him showing me the Olympics, what is healthy competition? Yeah. What is sportsmanship? What is seeing someone do something that they never done before on an international level against other countries, the best of the best? Mm-hmm. And so I consider myself the best of the best now because of all the work that I've had. And I can say that. I can say that as a professional. So when I have my classes, my lifeguard classes, or it's an in-service training, or maybe it's an audit and I'm talking to a lifeguard, I pour into them and saying, hey, is that what you're supposed to do on stand? Is that how you learn this in the class? No. Okay, well, go back to your training and if you're doing your training, everything should be okay as long as you're following, your policies and procedures and training. So that's where that
it
came
is. One of the hardest things I think for aquatic leaders to do, or leaders in general to do, is to define success. And in aquatics, no one drowned today is often the success. But what you've done is allowed somebody who's sitting in a chair to feel really good about themselves without having to be in an emergency, without having to be audited, without having to worry. I mean, we're old. Ellis camera, right? When you could hide in the cameras did you ever the baby carriage? You had to put the camera in the baby carriage. Oh, anyway.
Yeah, I've got a story. It's too long to talk about, and it's kind of embarrassing. And we won't do it on this show right now. Off camera, we'll talk about it. But yes, I remember that. Hey, look, hey, we are being audited.
Right? What? But now the lifeguards can feel good because they know. Again, if you think of the greatest athletes, how do you know you're good? Well, I scored 33 points that day. Well, yeah, but we're out at dinner. Same with the lifeguard. I can get in my chair. I can exit my chair. I can coach another guard because I have this outlet, and it's also structured. It's clear. It's defined. I can train for it. It happens to go along with what I do every day. But like you said, it changed your mindset. And I think, and again, we'll talk about your company in a minute, and I know we'll get to our commercial break and all the things. But I think one of the things, and agree or disagree, is missing is our leadership's ability to change the way we look at lifeguarding. From competition to support to engagement versus I need you to fill a shift versus, oh, your slack was down, you failed the audit. And you've done that. You've changed the way a lifeguard can feel about themselves and be evaluated through these competitions.
Right. Yeah. I think the value part of it, and it's not just within aquatics, times have changed. And one of the things, how you and I were paid is not how they're being paid now, or even roughly of how they should be paid. So does that matter to a teenager, to a college student? Yeah, well, it matters to everybody. And I think from a community standpoint, this is one of the things that it's almost taboo when you say it. In my classes, when we talk about first responders, I go, tell me who's a first responder. And then they start naming EMS and firefighters and police. I go, okay, aren't you a first responder? Well, yeah. Well, guess what? You're the real first responders. We are. And yet, who gets the recognition and get paid more? The three entities I just mentioned.
And the mental health therapy, by the way, and the mental health recovery. Sorry, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if the community is able to recognize that we're the true first responders, or should be lumped into that group, then guess what? Maybe our pay or our value or recognition will be much higher than, oh, that's just a teenager or a college student just for a summer job. I'm like, no, we are literally watching over people's lives. EMS is not there. Firefighters are not there. Police aren't there when something happens. Who has to call them? People like us, the general public. We're the true first responders. Nothing to take away from what they do. They do an amazing job. I love what they do. But we should be recognized for what we do too, whether it's an ocean guard, pool guard, or waterfront, water park, all that. So that our pay should be increased if you're going to be able to keep people, because if they see something else down the road that for more money, or they're going to go towards that, because it hasn't that been the bane of our aquatics now, is we can't hire enough people. Well, because we're not paying enough people and we're not getting the recognition or value.
Chick-fil-A is opening up a lot of stores, and they have a great training program. It's funny you mention that. So my uncle was a battalion chief, Peoria, Illinois. Shout out Uncle Marty. Give us another viewer. But as a fire battalion chief, his running joke was, we don't have anything to do until the fire starts. We're not standing around, right? But to your point, lifeguards are the opposite. Our job is to make sure the fire doesn't start, from the kid not jumping in or finding the lost child, or, the handicapped adult that needs help, all the things. But you mentioned community. And I want to, before we go to break, we'll go to break in about 5 minutes. I want to mention this. So Craig LeBlanc, our doorman from DPRS, our godfather there, he always says he doesn't know anything about aquatics, and he's producing the show. And so now he has learned that aquatic staff members do not get mental health. They don't get recognized as a first responder. But on the opposite, I want him to learn what a founding strong company can do in a community. I wanted you to take a minute, if you would, Mr. T, and I know you don't love to brag about yourself, but 15 years in, co-owner with your wife, if I'm not mistaken. Is it right? Yep, shout out. You guys put safety first, and you've really made an impact in Jacksonville. Shout out Scott Hansen, who we met. Shout out partnerships. Would you mind telling the audience how you kind of went about, again, in a few minutes, but how you went about day 1 to day 15 and making those networks and making that impact and, riding the ups and downs of drownings in real life and schools. And it's a big question, but I know you've done it. And I want the audience to kind of to get inside the scope a little bit, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. So when you're in the corporate world, all of those things are out there for you to have the opportunity to work for somebody else. And so they already, for the most part, have clients. When you're doing something on your own, you are starting from ground zero. You have nobody except you, your experience, and your name, and you have to build on that over and over and over and make those connections with people. And over 15 years, we've been able to do that. It was rough in the beginning. It always is when you're being an entrepreneur, trying to start it for the first time. Those of you who've ever started something, it's not easy. You've got to walk the walk. You've got to be out there or walk the beat, as police used to say. You got to go do the work. And it was really, really hard in the beginning. And shout out to my wife Carrie. And the running joke I always say to people, I go, you know what? She's the brains and I'm the brawn. And so the brains tell the brawn what to do, where to go, and what classes. And so that's one of the things I want to honor about her about that, because we may be the face of the company, but it's those other people like behind the scenes. And at Aquatics, who do we got? That we got people who are front desk people, or somebody else who's maybe an assistant coach. And a shout out really should go to those who are facility maintenance, CPOs, AFOs. And I recently shouted out somebody, and you should have seen the grin on this guy's face. Nobody recognizes those people.
They don't even know his name. They barely know his name. Sorry, no offense to him, but in general, sorry. Yeah, it's very, yep, keep going. Yeah.
So when I recognized his name, everybody was like, who? And then finally I go, that guy right over there. Without him having maintenance on the pool, if the pool's not working, you're not working. Right. So that's the problem. So you need to give respect to this person over here, and just say hi to him. The person's working hard. They're scrubbing the tiles. They're in the back. They're backwashing. Or adding chemicals in the pump room. All the things that we have done as CPO and AFO. It's not an easy job. It's constant. And it's unlike you show up for a shift and then you're done with your shift.
Right. It's not a go home at 5 o'clock sort of deal. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So those types of things, we want to honor those people that are behind the scenes too.
Absolutely. And again, that's what you built with your company. And without knowing it, maybe you did know it, you described a recreation department for every Parks and Rec in this country, right? Mm-hmm. We've got people behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. Yes, Craig, we'll go to commercial break because our advertisers are awesome and amazing. But I think that's a microcosm. Whether you've started your own company or not, if you're in charge of an aquatic facility within a Parks and Recreation facility, you have all the things we've talked about so far. The key now is, how are you doing it professionally? What training are you get? What support do you have? What expertise are you gaining? What feedback are you looking for, et cetera? And I think, again, yes, we'll go to commercial, Craig. He's not even in my ear. He's not actually in my ear, guys, just so you know. But I think that's what you guys have just done so well with Safety First CPR and safety training is really understand this is how we were taught. This is how professionally we were taught. We're not going to cut any corners, and we're going to make sure our staff sees that and applies it.
Yeah.
And works great. So we'll go to commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk more about Lifeguard games. We're going to talk about all things aquatics. We're going to talk about some lessons Mr. T has learned, and we'll be back after this commercial break.
Art has the power to transform spaces, to inspire communities, to tell stories that connect us to one another. Across parks, public spaces, and gathering places around the world, creativity is bringing people together in new and meaningful ways. From murals and sculptures to music, dance, theater, and cultural celebrations, the arts help turn ordinary places into extraordinary experiences. Because Parks and Recreation isn't only about facilities and programs. It's about creating places where people belong, places where culture thrives, places where imagination comes to life. Welcome to Arts in Parks and Rec, the show that explores the people, projects, and creative ideas shaping the future of arts and culture in parks and public spaces. Hosted by Beatriz Eugenia Vázquez. Together, we'll discover how the arts strengthen communities, inspire engagement, and help create vibrant places for everyone. This is Arts in Parks and Rec, a DPRS Media Network original, where creativity meets community.
Not every mission happens behind a desk. Some happen in the places where our freedom is defended. This is the front line, where service meets reality, readiness requires resilience, and impact is measured in people, not headlines. We talk with the men and women who support our military communities, the leaders, responders, and recreation professionals who create spaces where service members and their families can recharge, connect, and stay strong. From fitness and recreation to community programs that strengthen the total force at home and abroad, we share the stories, the challenges, and the purpose that keeps them going. Welcome to On the Front Line, the Military Rec Show, hosted by John Prue. Real people, real stories, real service. This is where it begins.
They say it's just rec. Just rec, where kids learn to try again. Just rec, where confidence begins. Where teamwork, effort, and fun matter more than trophies. It's not about perfection. It's about participation. It's not just rec. It's where kids learn to love the game and themselves. It's just rec until they learn teamwork for life. It's just rec, but it's everything to them. It's more than rec. It's a movement. It's just rec until you realize it's shaping the next generation. Together, we're not just running programs. We're building a culture of confidence, connection, and community. Join us.
Okay, we are back. I would be remiss if I did not shout out a couple other shows. John Prue and MWR. You want to talk about a guy who was a lockdown opening, but also Scott Hansen, who you and I know, Tux, MWR, crossover. I try to get them connected. And then I want to shout out Papa J, the Diet Dr. Pepper Club. Papa J is upping his game as our show host competition of who has the best openings. So Papa J has some really fun walk and talks and opening cardboard boxes and unpackings of his shows. And so now we have to get more creative. So shout out to those wonderful people. But speaking of being creative and connecting, I meant to ask you in our last segment, so I'll throw this at you before we get into other subjects. We mentioned you've been in aquatics a long time. I want to ask kind of two things. How's it changed? And in your opinion, what's missing? What would we all benefit from? And I know we wanted to get to those earlier, but I wanted to throw that because I think you've got a lot of perspective on what's changed over the time since you started to now, and what do you think's missing in the industry?
What has changed is actually healthy competition. It used to be just one organization, and then other people saw other things that needed more upgrade. Let's just say that. In
Remember
a
the duck
healthy way.
pluck? Do you remember the duck pluck when you would
Yeah.
scoop? Sorry to interrupt, but when you said things got better, I was like, oh, I remember scooping people up with my feet. What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Sorry, keep going.
Yeah. So it's funny because over the years, as these organizations and companies, have literally have exploded on the scene in the 80s and the 90s, to today, the healthy competition is a great way to show that you can't be complacent. Water safety, it doesn't matter where you are in the country, at a MWR, at a community pool. Shout out to Kara Green, at a University of Houston, natatorium. It doesn't matter. We're all lifeguards and all trying to help people be safe in the water so they can, after their exercise, whatever it is, go home. So that healthy competition has upped the game and making sure that we're doing the right things within our community to keep people safe. And so that's probably one of the major changes we've seen, these past, what is it now, 30 years. And so that's a great thing.
Yeah. When I was coming up, you knew who trained you.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I always tease it. If you ever seen the movie Men in Black, oh my gosh, there's my movie shout out. Not even on purpose, brother, I promise. But if you ever seen the movie at the end of Men in Black, Will Smith opens a door at the end and then he sees like 10,000 more doors.
Yeah.
That's what you're describing is shout out to Nicole Fairfield in Georgia, whatever pool you have, is you're describing the ability for our human and networking and knowledge to come together and say, I can take this and build off that because my community is different, or my needs are different, or I don't have these resources. So I love that we're seeing the same thing there. On the opposite end, and then we'll get into lifeguard games and all the teasings you've done. What do you think is missing from our industry? What if you had an easy staple button, what easy staple button would you insert, or do you have one?
Yeah, I mean, I just mentioned it previously, about the recognition and the pay. I think that's really really big because someone can go down the street to their local fast food restaurant and get paid way more than, let's say, somebody who's being introduced in the lifeguarding or WSI or water safety instructor, or whatever it is. That type of thing really shows that it's not that we don't care, but we don't have the platform to be raised up to raise us up. And we all need to do that. All of us need to do that. And guess what? Those fast food restaurants, the people who are working there, what did they say? We need X, Y, and Z. And enough people said X, Y, and Z, or we're leaving. Well, no one could afford that. They want to keep their business. So what did they do? They raised up the pay raises. And so, we don't want a revolution or anything like that, or, we don't want to leave a pool empty, but it's that kind of thing that we all need to step up, and maybe it's legislature or whatever it is, or maybe it's your city council or whatever that entity is, to say, hey, we need to pay them for what they're worth, because at 16, 17, 18, 19 years old, what job do you have that you're literally watching people life and death? No job but lifeguarding.
So you can put any age group on that, by the way, at least as you get old. Yeah, as you get older. I mean, one of the phrases, and you can steal this if you'd like, is we need the water parks and the pools to be on the A story of the news for the right reason.
Yes.
Right. And to your point is, if ever time our story or our entity or an industry is on your news or on the front cover of your Twitter or whatever you get, it's something bad, then we can't express the good. Then there's no room to show that value, to show, yeah, but man, we saved like 75 lives, you know what I mean? Or we taught 10,000 kids to swim, or, we impacted this part of the community. Yeah, but last week this kid choked on water, and the 9 ambulances showed up because we didn't know what to do. Okay, so anyway, you're spot on, preach on. Okay, we can go on for that for hours. So to the world lifeguard competition, you're taking the lifeguard competition idea to another level. And let's help the audience take that back. You and I met in St. Simon's Island, Georgia, a year ago because you were humble enough and willing enough to drive to Jacksonville and show up to the first ever All Things Aquatics event. Would you mind sharing with the audience what that was and how we got to year 2?
So Wes has his Facebook group, and we're involved in that Facebook group. And he put out something about an event, very first time. It's close, it's just up the road from Jacksonville, and I love travel anyway. So just to get out of the house and to be able to really be able to connect with people, because sometimes you're not able, either due to finances or maybe your schedule, to go fly out to X, Y, and Z conference. Maybe there's not enough money to do that, or the time period. And so this was local, and it fit my time period. Hey, let's go ahead and check it out. And once I walked through the door, I was like, wait, this is not a 500-person room hall. No, it was a small, intimate setting. You got to talk to people, and you stayed there for the entire day. Just everybody within that room. And the conversations that we had from group to group to group, the 4 categories that you had, it brought something out of me too. It's like, hey, everybody at these tables are experts in their own right. And when we say all things aquatics, it's literally all things aquatic. And someone
we had some breathing. We had a breathing expert there. Okay, so you know what I mean? Yeah.
So these categories were there, and towards the end, I was like, wow, this is a really, really great networking opportunity. There was vendors that got to speak, and just overall with with you and Nicole and the others that supported this for the very first time, in this hotel conference room. I was blown away. I was like, how can I get involved? And so this is one of the ways how I got involved. I opened my big mouth. I'm like, but how can we take this to the next level?
Yeah. And quick sidebar, if I'm not mistaken, you randomly sat at a table with another person from Jacksonville that you had not yet met. Am I correct in that?
Yes. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
You had to go to a different city to meet somebody in your own town. Crazy.
Exactly.
That warmed my heart. But to your point, what happened afterwards, we all got in the pool and just started messing around, and everybody was demonstrating. And again, you being you, spoke up, and I was very humbled. And my wife was there, Nicole was there, and you said, hey, wait a minute. We're in the water right now. The day presentation, the event itself is for the professional, the full-time employee or the instructor. But the lifeguard part, you started spinning our wheels a little bit. And now you have been put in charge of the first annual All Things Aquatics Lifeguard Competition, which will be on Friday night, September 25th. Shout out my wife's birthday, but the night before. And tell the audience what we got going on there, because this is kind of fun and new.
So here's how I tagged it. And I don't know how it worked out. It's just the creativity of all these things put together. So there's 5 teams. There's 5 events, there's 5 vendors, and there's 5 challenges. So
I don't think I knew that. Keep going.
Yeah, kind of that alliteration. And so basically what we're doing, we're having a normal lifeguard competition. People are going to compete against each other, but they're going to be using vendors' products in a different way within a lifeguard competition. So what does that look like for backboarding? What does that look like for CPR? How about if someone's doing a rescue? So we're incorporating those in these events in a totally different way that it sounds crazy, but it's like, well, in real life, in training, you're training to the standard of what the ability of what you can do based off of the knowledge that you just received.
In that moment.
In that moment. And then when it's real life, it doesn't work out like that. And I think that's one of the things that I wanted to bring to the table, because, and I wanted to backtrack a little bit. The reason why I'm the professional I am today, yes, it's other people, but there was an incident that happened to me, and hopefully others that are listening, we're on the same page when this happened. Someone went into cardiac arrest, and it wasn't at the pool. It was at the convention center. And our team, unfortunately, we couldn't save her. So when I go into a lifeguard course, you know what? The first thing I say, besides the introduction, I tell the story and I make it real for them. And so once they hear the story, they're like, wow, that's not what I thought lifeguarding is. I'm like, yes, that's exactly what you're doing. If something happens, there's things that you can control. There's things you can't control. And with all that being said, that's real life. And you've got to be able to deal with that. So when we're doing lifeguard games, it's the same thing. I'm going to introduce you with something that you never thought would be, incorporated within an event of a lifeguard competition. And now you got to figure out how to use it and still do the lifeguard skill. So that's one of the reasons why this is going to be amazing.
Oh,
it may be frustrating, but amazing for just overall, just the concept of it.
Yeah, so 2 notes. One, here's my second movie reference, Unplanned. But if you're old enough like me, you remember the movie The Wizard with Fred Savage, where he traveled the country playing video games, and he played Super Mario Brothers 1 and 2, and at the end, it was Super Mario Brothers 3. So that's how I'm relating, because again, I kind of know what's going on, but I really don't. And that's great. That's why we're doing this, because this is your jam. But that's how I relate it in my mind is, if you're in Houston, if you're a lifeguard, if you work for a YMCA, JCC, Park District, again, this event is post-season. If you're a college student, we'll have all the information available. You can buy your tickets. You can buy your entry fees. We'll have prizes. But the idea is that you're a really good lifeguard. You know how to respond in an emergency. Mm-hmm. Now, this is real life. I remember stories of a woman slipping and falling in a locker room and the power going out in the locker room so you couldn't see, and the floodlights weren't loud enough, right? People passing out in parking lots. We trained to jump in the water, Tux. We trained to pull you out on a backboard with my gloves on. I'm supposed to dip my gloves in the water, put them on, but you're bleeding in the front lobby. No. I have to go get my gloves on and dip them in the water. That's what I'm saying, right? I can't. So, but that's why you've built, right? And you've learned that from other competitions. Am I not mistaken? From things you've liked and things you haven't liked. Is that fair?
Yes. Yeah. Besides the lifeguard competitions that did at Disney, another place I worked was at Colorado. We were involved in the lifeguard games over there. I was involved in lifeguard competitions here in Jacksonville in the local YMCA's. I introduced it to them. I go, you want to make your lifeguards better? Watch what's going to happen when we do a lifeguard competition, and then you rise above. You didn't think you can do this thing, and then you and your team are able to accomplish something you've never accomplished before. So that makes you feel good, and that also feel good, but also makes you confident in your skills. So not to a point of arrogance, but confident in your skills enough.
You have to be, though.
Yes.
Not arrogant, but confident. I'm sorry. Keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to have that confidence when you're lifeguarding, when you're teaching a swim lesson, when you're an AFO or CPO, you've got to know your stuff. So not only are you safe, that's the name, safety first.
Yeah. We keep you safe. Yep.
But keeping others safe as well. And so that's what we want to show in the lifeguard games.
I think you're spot on. You mentioned this earlier. Mama taught me, if you hear something twice, pay attention. I think our audience is going to hear it twice. You mentioned that, it's not a common job that a 16-year-old can go and do this type of work. Now you add the curveball of having the public eye on you. It's also not common that people are, what's he doing? Her legs are crossed. How long they've been sitting there? If they don't rotate right, they didn't smile to me. So all these customer service, all these guest relations, the ability to write on Yelp, right? When you and I were coming up, if the customer didn't like you, they just went and complained to your boss, and you found out right there, right? Sometimes they just complain to you. Today, it's not like that, though, is it, Tux? And you're training the next generation. How are you preparing them to be aware of their surroundings? Because in an emergency, they got to be aware, but also on a 90-degree day, when it's beautiful, they got to be aware. How are you working that into your approach and teachings?
Yeah, when you're doing a lifeguard course, you're doing it for X amount of time, and you've got to keep the schedule. And I said, what we're doing right now is not lifeguarding. It's teaching you how to become a lifeguard. They're two different things. And what I do, and here's one of the things that a lot of people, when they give reviews to us back about, how did you like the lifeguard course? And there's just a serious questions. And one of the things that always comes up is I like when Mr. T brings his experiences to the class, so I'm able to take those experiences, and if it ever happens to me, I know, at least from what he's told me, this is how he handled it, and I can handle it too. And so it's those types of things that you have to, in the classes, show the realism of what could really happen. Because one of the things I tell lifeguards, I go, you know what? Lifeguarding is boring.
Yes,
it can be boring. And with today's society, we have a cell phone in our hands, and we have the 2 S's: swipe and scroll, swipe and scroll. So the attention span is not there. And so we've got to teach them, as they're becoming a lifeguard, you're going to be on that stand for 30 minutes. And not only stand, or you're roaming, or wherever you are, guarding that piece of water and everybody in it. But you've got the elements. It could be really hot. Same thing indoors. You're going to have a lot of noise. Your vision, just everything is going to prevent you to try to be the best person to try to keep people safe. So how do you do that? And so we teach them, how to become a lifeguard, and show them that, and put them on stand, and make them realize that, yeah, you're trying to be vigilant. You're moving your head, you're moving your body. You're able to talk to people and still provide that customer service. I think that's one of the things that they often
great
forget.
Test. Keep going. Yeah.
They often forget that you still have to talk to people. And the way that you talk to people, there's a difference between, hey, no running, or please walk. And so
don't say stop, because they'll stop and then they slide. Keep going. Yeah.
So how your tone and how you project yourself to people is going to be important. Are you going to be that mean lifeguard on the stand that is going to be blowing your whistle all the time and be annoying? Or are you going to be that lifeguard when the family comes by, you're smiling at the little kid, hey, how you doing? What's up, buddy? Great to see you. You guys have a great day. Be safe. Those types of things where you're not on the stand to be an authoritarian. You're out there in the community to be part of that. You're just watching them be safe.
Oh, lesson I had to learn a long time ago is, Wes, just because your last name is King doesn't mean you have to be the king of documentation. Okay, heard. And again, I want to give a shout out to Tux. He's recording this on a different time of day because he's a full-time teacher and a family man. But something I thought I'd never say, maybe it's because it's late at night, is this is where your HR department can come in, ladies and gentlemen. Human resources in a park and rec department can often maybe not be our biggest fan, because we're writing people up and we're disciplining them because they didn't come in on time. But if you listen to what Mr. T is saying very specifically, he's talking about giving your team credit when they're doing a good job. He's talking about recognizing positive work. He's talking about having a way to evaluate them with a scoring metrics or an audit system of some way. I know he's not saying those words, but if you took that to human resources and said, hey, instead of writing 4 people up for being 5 minutes late or not scanning or whatever they're doing, I'd like to use this form and credit 5 lifeguards for coming in on time, for having good customer service, for giving good directions, for having great body posture, blah, blah, blah. Well, isn't that their job? I mean, yeah, it is. But listen to what Mr. T's talking about. They got the wind. They got the sun. They've never been out their cell phone for 22 minutes. Let's credit what they're doing, right? So again, I think you've really kind of changed, or starting to, I know you've changed the way, start helping people change how we use everything, right? Human resources and positive documentation aren't bad. And again, I might get letters of people asking what drugs I'm on now that I said that out loud, but you're really talking about reinforcing the positive behaviors so they understand what's positive and they do it again, versus just correcting the negative all the time. Is that fair?
Yeah, it is. But there's also a point where, if something feels unsafe or they're not doing their job, you're going to have to pull them aside, and, you're going to have to tell them, what's going on. That
something they've probably also never done before. Sorry, they probably never corrected before.
Whether they're the right fit or not, what can you do to become better at this? And that's one of the things I tell them. I I don't sugarcoat anything, just because the experience that I've gone through and the people have poured into me, and that's real life. And so we can't always pet people and make sure that they're going to be okay. I'm like, this, you're going to have all kinds of things thrown at you, and you have to be able to handle that. How are you able to talk to people? How are you able to handle situation? And those are things inherently. Sometimes you've got to teach those, and that's important.
A lot of times, yeah. And teach yourself. This is well, it's my show, so I can take the ego on it. When you just said that, it made me think of the last 20 minutes of All Things Aquatics, when we got in the circle and we all threw the beach ball around.
Mm-hmm.
No one knew what anybody's certifications were until 8 hours later. No one knew what certification you held or what degree you held. For 8 hours, we went 6.5 hours doing what you just talked about, talking to people, supporting each other, problem solving from different perspectives. And again, I'll strike me down for me, but that's what made me think. That's why we created the event. But that's really what you're talking about, is asking for help, accepting help, and wanting to be better. And so it made me think of those last 20 minutes. We just went around and I was like, oh, you're an LGI? Well, I didn't know that. You didn't act like that. Oh, you're a fancy water aerobics instructor who has their own program? You didn't act like that. I couldn't tell that, because we're all kind of trying to solve the same thing. And so so I appreciate your approach. Before we go, any last remarks? Give us some highlights or some big takeaways maybe that our listening audience should walk away from professional training to September 25th and 26th, or anything else that you've learned that an aquatic professional should learn from and remember.
Sometimes you got to take your lumps. You're going to make mistakes along the way. Hopefully not a detriment to you, but you're going to have to learn those things. And, I've been going back to the youth. Well, that's the majority of if we're talking about lifeguarding, that's the majority of our staff. They're in high school and they're in college. They've got other things going on. They've got school or sports, boyfriend, girlfriend, family stuff. And so they've got to be able to manage that along with doing a job, and not just any job. Not at a fast food restaurant or mowing the lawn. It's now I've got to do this serious job, and I've got to be able to take care of the people that are in front of me, and be able to show up on time, be able to respect my coworkers, those types of things. So I think being able to really, I didn't know this until you become much older. Isn't it funny how when we're older, we're like, wow, what those people told me in the past is true now. And
youth
now
is wasted on the young, right? Youth is wasted on the young. Yeah. Yeah.
So being able to pass on your experiences, it's almost like someone back in the day without all this media or books, everything is through stories. So if you're telling your story, whatever your story is, like I have my own story, you have your own story, and you're the expert in your story. So be proud of who you are and give your 2 cents about what that story is to enrich other people's lives, because you're the number one person that knows you. Nobody else knows you like you know you. So showcase that and go, hey, I went through this. This is what happened. And here's how I came out of it, good or bad. This is how I came out of it. And now I want to pass that on to you, so you're able to handle it at least from a story perspective, that, hey, lesson learned. Make sure that we're doing those things in order to become a better version of ourselves. So yeah, wow. I think the experience part is really passing. You're passing your knowledge onto somebody else so they can become better.
The oldest living profession in the world, storyteller. Well, the second oldest, nonetheless. But but that's park and recreation. That's what we are. That's your community. Yeah. You're telling your story of your community. And again, if you're listening to this and you're a recreation professional and you're an aquatic professional, Mr. T is right. You're not going to be right every time. Again, as long as we're not talking about, tragic incidents, you're going to have scheduling mistakes. Your door's not going to open. A lifeguard's not going to come in, right? I mean, the chemicals are going to go off. It's all going to happen. And again, Tux, I just love your approach of, hey, were you professional? Did you follow the rules? Did you communicate properly? Did you do the best you could? All right, we took our lump. What can we do better? And
Right.
I think that's something we get down on ourselves in aquatics. And this is a great episode, a great reminder to don't get down on yourself. Get the support, get help, come to All Things Aquatics, ask for help. We're around, whoever you need, but remember your training and make sure you're giving good training. So,
Right. And one more thing.
please. Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
one
yes,
more thing.
yes.
As you're talking about that, and I think you brought it up when we were in the circle, and meeting, Scott for the very first time, someone who lives in Jacksonville that I never knew. But, essentially, if you think about it, we're all in our own silos. We're all doing our own thing. And that's one of the things that All Things Aquatics really showcases. It's as he said, we don't know who you are, what your title is, but we're all speaking the same thing. Now, not necessarily from all the things that are synergistic, but in terms of aquatics, that's the synergy that we have. So why are we just doing it by ourselves? Why aren't we networking? Why aren't we calling the person down the street from a different organization saying, hey, why don't we put together maybe a aquatic safety council or something like that? The networking opportunities are amazing if you're able to step outside your comfort zone and outside your silo and be one community. And that's the biggest thing that I want to say to those of you that don't have a community.
Sure.
Those types of things.
We're here, brother.
Yep.
I appreciate you. And great reminder, again, whether it's our community or somebody else's, there is so much power in knowing you're not alone. Aquatics can be I always say this. I say it. You can steal it. We're not just we are the black sheep, red-headed stepchild. I always put the black sheep first because I want that extra kicker. So to Tux's point, if you feel alone, if you're tired, it's a dog days of summer, reach out to your city, reach out to your local network, and we're here to help. And again, great episode, great for the conversation. And look for everybody look for Tux in Jacksonville or in Houston. Until next time, we'll see you guys next Friday.
This episode is brought to you by SDSU's Sports MBA program. If you're passionate about sports and want to work in the women's sports industry, then this is the time to pay attention. SDSU's program is 12 months accelerated hands-on learning where students have actually gotten to work with teams like the San Diego Mojo, partnered with the Farmers Insurance Open, and visited headquarters like the Upper Deck or Callaway Golf. It's built for people who want to be in rooms like that. So if you're interested, deadlines are approaching. Learn more or apply with the links in the description.
The future of Parks and Recreation isn't coming, it's already here. Across communities everywhere, technology is transforming how parks connect, engage, and serve the people who rely on them. From smart amenities and connected infrastructure to real-time data and innovative solutions, a new generation of parks is taking shape. Welcome to Smart Parks Forward, presented by DPRS Media Network and co-produced by Outdoor Link. Each episode brings you the leaders, innovators, and visionaries driving the future of parks and recreation. Discover groundbreaking ideas, real-world success stories, and the technologies helping agencies create safer, smarter, and more connected communities. Because great parks don't just improve spaces, they improve lives. The future is connected. The future is intelligent. The future is now. This is Smart Parks Forward.
In the parks and recreation industry, attention is limited, but influence is everything. Every day, thousands of parks and recreation professionals make critical decisions. Decisions on infrastructure, programs, technology, and vendors. The question is your brand part of that conversation? DPRS Media Network was built to answer that question. We are a dedicated media ecosystem focused exclusively on the parks and recreation industry in the United States. Through a network of daily and weekly shows, we inform, connect, and influence this audience. Our distribution spans multiple platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, plus email campaigns, newsletters, podcasts, and live event coverage. This is not a single-channel strategy. It is a multi-platform media engine. Today, Our network reaches over 214,000 connections, including 51,000 on LinkedIn, 64,000 on Facebook, nearly 40,000 email subscribers, and thousands more across podcast and social platforms. While some audiences overlap, our true value is not just reach, it is relevance. We speak directly to parks and recreation directors, program managers, and industry leaders, an audience that is highly targeted and actively engaged. Through DPRS Media Network, your brand integrates seamlessly into this ecosystem. Through sponsored show segments, targeted advertisement placements, podcast features, and host-read promotions, even custom branded content. Not as interruptions, but as part of the conversation. And we don't just operate online. We attend over 15 major parks and recreation conventions each year, reaching more than 24,000 professionals in person. Through live shows, interviews, and on-site media coverage, we position our partners at the center of the industry. Every piece of content we produce is amplified across our entire network. Multiple shows, multiple hosts, multiple platforms. Your message doesn't appear once, it multiplies. This is more than advertising. It is strategic positioning within a trusted media network built specifically for the parks and recreation industry. If your goal is to reach decision makers, build credibility, and stay top of mind, then it's time to partner with DPRS Media Network. Apply for partnership or sponsorship today. Let's position your brand where the industry is already paying attention.